Hello peeps, Hillbilly Harford today. How are you? I thought I'd do a bit of a talking video today. I'll do a down one tomorrow. And few people on the YouTube community seem to have been trying to gang together against me the last few days. So, because I said the truth out loud. Now, I'm going to tell you a bit about myself and where I've come to in life. Some of the people who've already subscribed know this, but I'm going to tell them anyway. Now, where I live, either side of me, I'm a small farm, by the way. I don't pretend to be no special farm or anything. Either side of me, I got two fantastic farmers. Known them since I was young, known their family since I was young. They're low input hill farmers. One of them's got a piggery. They're fantastic farmers. And in all my area, all the farmers are fantastic. I've got to say, a lot better than me. I don't pretend to be no fantastic farmer. But in my younger years, I seen it all, boy. I seen it all. I was brought up on hill farms. Now, and here. So where I was brought up on hill farms. One of them had 2,000 sheep. The other one had 5,000 sheep. And my dad here had 800. So it was a constant of doing that. As a kid, was brought up with that as a constant. And when my grandparents were alive, they were basically living off the bread line. A lot of people don't realize that, but they were. And I can remember when I was in a teenager, or below that, I suppose about 10. My grandfathers, both of them, were afraid to buy Land Rovers because they couldn't afford it. They were so worried about not having enough money to feed the family. And that will come to a shock of a lot of people who see this, who know me. Especially on the one big farm, they didn't have a lot of money. And there was maybe one red 135 tractor. And around this area then, you didn't see a four-wheel drive tractor. So it was a constant working on them farms, but it was a constant slower pace. Now I remember that well. You were working all the time, but at a slow pace. So you were at 7 days a week, it was constant. Hard work. But I absolutely loved it. I've been there, I got the t-shirts. Now when we went into the 90s, things changed a bit then. It was all on the headage payment then, so the more sheep or cattle you had, the more you got paid with a subsidy system in my area of Wales. So things sort of changed then, and it went from, oh, my horse is around me. Things sort of changed then, and it went from the headage payment to being paid on the area. And farming became easier then. It was very hard before that, and it became easier on everybody. Because they're getting, and the farming press that I talk about, who were in all this, and I don't like it. I don't like the farming press. The farming press at that time, so in the early 90s, were pushing this. So before then, when my grandparents were basically all skint, everybody around here was skint as a farmer. And you lived to your means then. You had a set amount you had to spend, and that was it. You didn't spend any more. So before, when the farming press were around then, Farmers' Weeklies, all that, all they were pushing was road building, draining, dipping sheep flat out. Everybody was soaked to the skin in dip, and now we find out it was basically chemicals that would kill you. My uncle got ill because of that, by the way. And then in the 90s, it changed then, when it went from the headage payment to the, well, in 2000, I think it was, late 90s. Went from the headage payment to the area payment. Things got easier then. But the farming press pushed that again. So the same farming press that hate the conditions of the farming now, they pushed for all that. And all the farming leaders, all the unions, everybody pushed for this for this policy that they now don't like. So at that time, all the stock was cut back to a half pretty much on all the hills, and it was left to go wild because of the word wasn't round then of saying sustainability. So then things started to go wild. The fern took over. Before that, lots of these hills were like football fields because they were getting grazed harder. You wouldn't see half the trash that was around there now. So that's how it went on. And at that time, when that all changed, my dad had a hard time here then because we lost over half our income overnight. So we were, I don't care. I'll talk about money. I don't give a shit about money. We were pulling in about 15,000 at that time on a headage payment. And then overnight, it went from that to £5,000 a year. And we got in serious trouble with the bank. Just basically, that's what happened. So I went out to work, and I won't go through all that business now. I've talked about that before. I basically went out to work flat out on the timber and things like that to pay our mortgage. And we struggled, and we paid that mortgage off. And that's what I won't go through all that again. Anyway, so farming at that time was a lot easier than when I was growing up. And it's a bit like that now. Certain farmers get a lot of money. And like I said, after the way I grew up, I can see why, because it was hard going. It was serious hard going. You were literally going to the have something to eat, and you would have bread and cheese. That was it. I know it sounds bizarre now. Bread, cheese, milk, everything. That was it. So that's how it was. Now, as things got a bit more modern, then when there's a bit more money about, people started tacking sheep off all over the place. We used to do it, and my cousins and grandparents. So it was a constant taking sheep off to tack off somewhere on better ground. And you'd be back and forward there all the time, maybe down Hereford or wherever, Aberera and that sort of way, down country, wherever. A bloody lot of work. Now, because things are so tight here on the small farm, I started putting my head together and working this all out. And there's no money in it. You start renting ground, traveling around the country. After all 6 months of that, you'd end up maybe £1,000 in pocket. After all the work you put in. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a total waste of time. Absolute total waste of time. Because say you wanted to go and rent 30 or 40 acres of ground, just off the top of my head now, maybe cost you 3,000 to 4,000 quid or whatever. All that work that you put in going back and forward, looking after them and then selling the lambs after, there's no money in it. And I watch a lot of these YouTubers on TV now. I love their channels, by the way. One of them had a go at me the other day. I love their channels, by the way. I've been through all that all in my younger life. I had it all. But you'll find, mate, that you won't make any money unless you own the farm. Because the only way of doing it is to own that ground. It's a complete waste of time otherwise, because you're putting so much effort in for nothing. You're better off going to get a cleaning job. Now, I realised instead of paying that rent, you're better to buy a piece of ground and that rent paying that mortgage off. And that's what I did. I bought a small piece of ground and I couldn't really afford it then. And the mortgage is what I was paying rent in the sheep. So that's what we did. And thankfully, cross fingers, by January it should have it all paid off. And I ain't going in no debt again. Now, the farming press that hate this system we got now, were pushing that back then. Now, at the moment, I like traditional farming because I was growing up with traditional farming. That's what I like. I like traditional farming. I know probably the farmers either side of me look at me and think, what is he doing? Now, if you look around me now, I don't get paid to leave things like this. I like leaving my farm like this. If you'll see in the background, I like seeing all the hedges grow up into trees. I'm not anti-tree at all. I haven't taken any money off any scheme to do any fencing on this place. I don't think ever. I aren't in any of the schemes. I'm in the one basic scheme, the one they're trying to stop now. So when I see a lot of people trying to badmouth me, I have to be honest, it did knock me a bit. But what got me was the farming awards. Now, one of the big YouTubers there, I've watched him since the start and he's fantastic. And it started off as a little dairy farm. And his dad was running a little dairy farm, a traditional dairy farm. And I started watching it because I like the traditional dairy farm. Small little farmyard, everything living within your means. And as it's gone on, I've watched it as it goes on, and it's brilliant because his son is a real go-getter. And he's got buildings up there, going huge enterprise, huge tractors, fantastic. But he's also got a lot of debt, probably. But if you're on YouTube, you can pay that debt. Now, the farming press now are using people like that as examples, which is all good, but they haven't got that income from YouTube. So the next step is bankruptcy. They're encouraging people to go to do that. I totally understand why. And I can totally understand why the younger farmers do it. Now, you don't have to go that way. This is what happened with my own philosophy of life. My dad was ill in the last couple of years of his life, and I was sort of looking after him. And I had an eyesight problem. And I always remember one thing he said to me, because I used to run around working like a blue-ass fly, constantly doing stuff all the time. You always knackered, you had to be there, you had to be here. And he said to me, don't turn your farm into a place you hate. And he was right. I absolutely love this place. It might not be a big farm to some people, but I absolutely love this place. Every moment I'm here, I love the place. I'm no brilliant farmer. I'm just a person who's a farmer, a small farmer who's happy with what he's got. I don't want any more ground. I don't want a lot of money. Now, after I had my eye problem, when I couldn't work like I used to, for a couple of years there was a bit dark, which you'll see in some of my previous videos. But then I suddenly realized there's another way to do this. That you don't have to do that. You can enjoy your life a bit and decide to be happy. So I decided to live off less money. That's what I simply decided to do. I decided I was going to be happy, a happy person. And if you know me, I'm a glass half full, but I do wind people up. There's no doubt about it. I quite enjoy winding people up. I quite like being on my own because I'm like I said, an only child. I like my own company. I don't want a lot of money. I just like enough to survive. Now there's lots of farmers like that. They don't want to, they just want to produce food for you lot there. But on the farming press, that is looked as a bad thing now, traditional farming, and I don't like that. You don't get much traditional farming, how great it is. It's the thing about traditional farming that's great is your lifestyle and your mental health. You learn to live off less. Now, if you want to be this big YouTuber making millions and walking around with a file of facts in your top pocket, you carry on and do that. I'm quite happy for you to do that. That is your decision in life. But not everybody wants to do that. And I'll say for one thing, when you hit 50, And lots of my friends are already gone grey from having big debt. Big debt is a killer. And you'll think, what the hell did I put myself in that position for? Now, modern farming and modern press of farming, farmers' weeklies and all that, they're pushing youngsters into this huge debt. I don't agree with that. I think you should have, how can I say it? Try and decide to be happy. No, don't decide to be miserable. I'm not miserable. I put my videos up and I have a go at these people who are wasting money, and I wind these people up who think they're God's gift, because I can, simply. That's why I started this channel. They might be marching around thinking they're very special, but I don't care. So I just thought I'd say that today. I am happy with my little small farm. I don't want anything more. I don't want any fame or anything. One of them actually said, if I was offered something, I'd take it in a minute. I wouldn't. I'm not like that. I don't want anybody having a hold on me. The channel started off as a hobby for me, and it's a hobby. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't for getting subscribers originally. It's just for me to look back on, really. And then it started to get a bit more popular a few years back, and I still never chased subscribers, but I have to be honest, since I started doing these protest ones, I have, yeah, because I'd like to get a bit more of this info out there about these crooks around. And I think the UK is going down the pan because we're being led by a bunch of academic people, really, who have got no actual experience of life. They come straight from university. They've seen something in a book and they think that's how it works. Well, I'll give you an example. My grandfather couldn't read and write, and he had a 2,000 sheep farm. You don't need to have letters after your name to be a good person. And in fact, I think it turns you into a vain person in my experience in life. So yeah, I fully stand by everything I say on my channel. If they got butt hurt, they got butt hurt. I think the content on their channels is excellent, by the way. I wasn't having a go at the content at all. I was just having a go at how they're being used to make traditional farming look like it's a bad thing when it isn't. So I suppose I better sign off now. This has been a long one, isn't it? I thought I'd better have a bit of a chat to tell people about what's happened the last few days, because I actually found it a bit weird, to be honest with you, because I don't want any notoriety or anything. But if you follow me and click the like and subscribe, I'm really happy. But if you don't, it don't matter. It won't ruin my day, because I'm happy anyway. So if anybody got offended, sorry if you got offended, but that's life. Get used to it, eh? Ta-da. All the best, guys.